Hello creative friends, this is Joy. Happy Halloween. This here is a Hocus Pocus inspired journal that I created, and I've watched the movie recently and really loved the movies and been wanting to create this journal for several years now and decided that this year was a good perfect year to create the journal. So that's what I decided to do. I tried to record this with a new mic, but apparently it did not work. So please ignore the wire hanging down. I didn't realize that the wire was showing. But in any case, what I did was I used a box and then I took hot glue gun to create the two lines of, for the stitching where I was going to put the stitching part, and then I covered the whole thing with tissue paper. I crumpled it up, covered the whole thing with tissue paper, and then I used white gesso to go over everything, and then I painted it with a dark brown and then lightly went over it with a dry brush of a lighter brown to get this color on here to make it look, like it's a worn leather book. And then what I did was I used hot glue for these here lines as well, and then, went over those with the tissue paper and the paint as well. So then I took the things that I cut off the side and the top and bottom, and I created the shapes that I would need for the pieces for this journal. The corners and that long strip on the left, and then the thing around the eye, and then six fingers. And then I used those to shape my pieces. And so I used this Blick plastic cloth here that is like comes in a strip and it's got plaster on it. And I just wet it and then I rolled it up and then I was able to shape it in the shape that I wanted it to. I did like the length of that one piece, rolled it up after I'd wet it, and then I was able to get the shape of the snakes. And then for the one on here I had to do a little bit longer so that it would curl along there, and I shaped it right onto the cardboard pieces, and then I folded the end over for the heads to make them a little bit bigger. For the piece around the eye, I did the same. I just rolled it and then shaped it around the cardboard piece that I created. And on the ends for the fingers, I did the same. I just took a square piece, I wet it, and then I just folded it down and then glued it on top of the cardboard pieces. I did eventually remove the cardboard from those when I went to glue it on the journal so that it wouldn't be so thick. I painted the pieces black and then I went over the pieces with silver. And sorry about the clock in the background. So yeah, I painted them black with black gesso and then went over it with silver paint to get the look on those. And then the eye is just a styrofoam ball that I cut in half, glued it on there, went over the top and the bottom with some tissue paper and then painted that for the eye socket, and then of course painted the eye on there. And I think that turned out pretty good. And then I glued the pieces on there and glued the fingers on there and painted those as well. And then for the stitching, I had some bookbinding thread that I just cut into pieces, and then I added glue, dotted glue on each side of the where the stitching goes, and then glued those down all the way around. I made sure that the ends were glued down good, and then once that was dry, I took my paintbrush and just the tip of it, the end of it, I dipped it in black paint and then pressed on each end of each of the stitches all the way around to make it look like it was stitched. And on the side I did an X in between and then a stripe across the top and the bottom. And I've been working on this journal for like a couple of weeks now because it's like I'd have to do a part, let it dry, do a part, let it dry. And so it's taken me a while to get it done. So for the inside, I used some mixed media paper and I took a strip of cardboard. I put some fabric on there, some scrap fabric on there that I had, and then I sewed in my pages. And I did 4 signatures of 5 pages each, so folded in half. Each signature has 10 pages for a total of 40 pages in this book. And then I wanted to darken the edges, so I just used this distress stain and just went along the edge of the pages to get that brown stain around the edge. And for the fabric piece, I made sure that it was glued down. I glued it really good and put it into the book and pressed it in there. And then once that dried, I had fabric that stuck out a couple of inches on either side. And so then I glued that part down really good. And then I had some black cardstock, and I used Fabri-Tac glue there to glue all the signature down and the fabric and everything down, and make sure that was glued down good. And so then I had some black cardstock, but this book is taller than 12 inches. It's like 14 inches by 9.5. So I cut the cardstock down to width, which is 9.5, and then I put it on here, which left a little bit of a gap at the bottom. So what I decided to do is take another piece of cardstock and cut that in half and make a pocket out of it. So yeah, there was a little strip at the bottom that was not covered, so I added this piece, another half a piece, to cover the bottom and just to make a pocket if I wanted to put anything in a pocket. And I decided to give it a decorative edge, so I used an edge punch across the top to make that decorative edge. And I did that on the front and on the back, and that's how I finished off the inside of the book. So I'm really excited to get started with using the book, and I want to do the first page to be like a tribute to the Hocus Pocus movie and the book. And so that's what I'm going to do next, is I'm going to do the first page so that you can see that how I created that first page to the tribute to this movie and to this book. So what I did was, you can't see it, but there is a quick sketch of what I wanted to do on this page. And so I want to create the title Hocus Pocus to put on this page. So I am quickly just sketching out the letters Hocus Pocus on this yellow paper that I want to use to actually add that to the page once I'm done painting it. So that's what I'm doing here, and like I said, it's really hard to see, but I'm doing it lightly so that when I cut it out, then the pencil lines will be easier to erase. So once I got the letters drawn out like I wanted, then I take my scissors and I carefully cut them out. I'm not a big fan of fussy cutting, but in some cases it's worth fussy cutting, I guess you could say. So I have my words drawn out, my letters drawn out, and so I just use my big scissors to cut out the strips, and then I'm using my little scissors to go through and fussy cut out the letters, the individual letters, one by one. And this takes a little bit of time, but not too much. And again, it's definitely worth the effort to take your time and cut them out. So there's the little P, and I'm like just trimming it up a little bit. And then I will take an eraser and erase any pencil lines that are still showing once I have all the letters cut out. So then I got some black paint and proceeded to paint in my drawing on my page. For the three ladies from the Hocus Pocus movie, I just wanted to do it like in black paint, so it's like their silhouette instead of, actually doing a painting of them. This was a quick and easy way that I thought to get the idea. I mean, they're so recognizable even just from their silhouette and from the movie. So I thought that would be a great way to do their likeness on this first page in this journal. So that's what I'm doing here. And like I said, I have this sketched out. It's hard to see, you can't really see that it's sketched out, but I do have it all sketched out, just lightly. And then I fill in the whole image or a silhouette again with the black paint. And I do this with an angle brush because it helps me to get it, around the edge and corners and all of that fairly easily. And then when I go to do this little part here, I obviously switch to a much smaller brush so that I can get in there and get that part filled in. And that's basically it that I did for the three girls. And then at the bottom I have a circle that I drew. So I filled that in with a blue paint, like a purpley blue paint. I'm using the angle brush again. It helps, it's easier to use that to get around the edges and get a straight circle in there. And then I decided to, since this is kind of, a Halloween movie, add a little bit of purple in there. And then I decided I had some silver paint, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to add some of that in there. That way I'd give it a little bit of shimmer and shine to this. So I added some of that in there. And then here's my letters. I have them all cut out. So I just take some glue and just glue them down to my page. And on that first one I put a little too much glue, so I had to dab some of that up. So I laid the letters across my page just to see how they were going to fit and where. And then proceeded to glue everything down. So yeah, that's the journal page, and first page I made in my new Hocus Pocus journal. I'm really excited about working in this journal and filling it up. And there's a little bit of room at the bottom of the page where I do a little bit of journaling about, the movie and, making the journal and stuff. So I was able to do like a little tribute to the movie and talk a little bit about the making of the journal. So I really appreciate you guys stopping by and watching, and if you like this video you can give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments you can leave them below. I read all of them and respond as well. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you have not subscribed to my channel already. I've really enjoyed making this journal and making this journal page in tribute to Hocus Pocus. So happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you for stopping by, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.